Everybody, we'll go ahead and get this meeting started. We'll call the meeting to order. Roll call, please. Ms. Anna?
Commissioner Trujillo?
Here.
Commissioner Gandy?
Here.
Commissioner Butcher?
Here.
Commissioner Sanchez? Here. And Mayor Campos?
Here. If you join me in prayer, please. Heavenly Father, we ask that you be with us here tonight, Lord, as we make these decisions, Lord, that affect so many citizens within our community. We ask that you bless us with your presence, Lord, and you forgive us for our sins. Thank you for allowing us to even gather in your name here, Lord. There are many communities our size who are not even allowed to do that. So we thank you for that opportunity, Lord. We ask that you continue to guide us, Lord, always in the right direction, and allow us to make the best decision we can for our entire community. And we ask this in your Son, Jesus Christ's name. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I salute
the flag of the state of New Mexico, the leading symbol of perfect friendship among united cultures.
Thank you very much. Have a seat.
Are you learning that? You getting it?
Come on in. Come on in. Fantastic crowd tonight. Come on in if you like.
I think
We had any more chairs up there?
That was it.
I think that was it. Our chief determines.
They're children there.
You all right? Chief?
Yes.
Okay. You got a head count? All right. Thank you so much for being here tonight. We welcome you here. I'll entertain a motion.
I'll make the motion. We approve the agenda as submitted.
Second.
We have a second on discussion. All right. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? All right. Motion carries. I'll entertain the next motion.
Make a motion. We consider of the regular meeting minutes of June 12, 2017.
Second.
We have a second by Commissioner Gandy. All right. Any discussion? All right. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? All right. Motion carries. Now we'll go into commissioners and staff report. All right, Mr. White, we'll start out with you.
Nothing to report this time, sir.
Nothing at all. Okay, very good. How are the meters coming along?
Meters actually, they are probably about 2.5, maybe 3 weeks to final. They finishing up the large books, the 19, 20, and then they're going to circle back around through 1 through 6 to pick up the meters in the first set of books. But they're looking at probably finalizing within the next 2 to 3 weeks.
Have we had any issues there at all?
We've had issues with the census and Encode, which is the billing software, trying to get them on the same page. Census is trying to change some stuff around in the computer. Encode is trying to keep it the same way. So we have had some hiccups with the system and the reading of the meters.
Right. I'm sure Gary will elaborate on that. Right. Speaking of which, go ahead, Gary.
Well, if I may, your Mayor and Commission, that
Yes,
was
sir.
really the only thing that I wanted to share was that due to the fact that both Census and Encode, we've gone hosted with Encode, and Census has their own hosted environment as well. For some reason, they're having difficulties getting the two to communicate. The latest report I have, and this is from Census, is that they believe we need to upgrade our mainframe here that we have, our server, to have greater memory capacity. And I don't understand that. I'm getting feedback from the Encode people and through SWAT IT that everything we have is up to standards and running efficiently. So we're working out bugs. We're having some challenges.
Okay. Appreciate you doing it. Let us know how that goes, if you would, please.
I'll keep you appraised.
Anything else, Gary?
No, sir.
I wasn't going to mention that.
Okay, I had to do some manual labor on my vacation, and I burned as a result of it. I'm not accustomed to being outside for very long.
I guess you need to turn the cap this way. Is that?
Yeah, that was, well, I didn't want to burn my neck.
Okay, all right, very good. All right, Ms. Joanna, anything to report to us?
Nothing to report, sir.
Thank you. Ms. Anna?
Nothing to report, sir.
Thank you. Commissioner
I
Sanchez?
don't have anything to report.
Very good, thank you. Commissioner Butcher?
Yeah, I guess to Wyatt, I noticed we've been moving some of that sludge out to the waste treatment plant, but have we finally decided on a place we're gonna actually put that stuff?
We're actually, a lot of the compost material or the compost that has been dried out, that has been stored there, we are actually moving it out to the city farm, which is about 4 miles or about 3 miles outside of town, to where actually the city takes all the limbs to burn. We're gonna be storing it out there until we can get rid of it or people come and ask us for it. But we are moving a lot of that compost out.
That'll help for the fourth, that smell, cut it down.
Yes. And he's probably about, I would say 70 to 80% complete of moving it out. And by the end of the week, we should have the rest of it out.
Thank you.
Is that helping with the smell already? What?
With the compost that's already there, dried out, it's really not too bad of a smell. It's the fresh compost that's actually on the pad that's going to be the culprit to the smell.
Okay, all right, very good. Anything else, Commissioner?
No.
All right, thank you. I was just going to ask James, any report on the smoking on the plaza?
Mayor, Commissioners, smoking on the plaza, it actually went very well, I thought.
Okay.
It was a different venue, but I think the event was a success.
Very good. The new location worked out pretty good, do you think?
I'm sorry.
The new location worked out all right?
Yes, but I know that they're already making plans to move it back downtown next year.
All right, very good, very good.
Sorry, I was back there. It was actually really well. We were like 5 contestants short of.
Go ahead,
what we
identify
had last.
yourself if you wouldn't mind.
Hi everyone, Ana Saucedo, Executive Director for Lovington Main Street. We were 5 contestants short of what we had last year, but overall it was very successful. We had more food vendors and non-food vendors than we have in previous years. Everyone was super excited about Kyle Park, so that was huge. And we got all of our sponsorships at the last minute, which was awesome. It was extremely hot. Beyond hot, everyone was melting and dying, but nonetheless the community definitely showed up and we had a lot of collaboration. The Lovington High School football players came out and threw away our trash. Jeannie Alexander provided food for them. Like, it was just all around a great community event. So.
Very good. Well, thank you for your work and everybody that volunteered and helped out. We appreciate it very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, that's all I had. Commissioner Trujillo?
Yes, sir. On our next meeting, James, I'd like to add for discussion beer and wine sales for Sundays for restaurants. Also, I'd like Chief to give me some stats on where we stood on when we introduced it for Monday through Saturday sales and what they would compare to since then, our DWI rates or in that area. That's what I'm looking for. And then also a cost analysis on a special election for that as well, James. That'll take care of it.
All right, anything else?
No,
Commissioner? All right. Commissioner Gandy?
The only thing I had for James was the RV dump station. I'm guessing the beginner RV user went through and smashed the lid. Oh my gosh, it was hideous. So I don't know if maybe we could move those protective, I don't know. Something needs to change a little bit there because they sure seem to bang that up pretty often. So other than that, that's all I had. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. All right. Chief Rodriguez?
Nothing to report.
Okay, very good. Chief Lizardo?
The only thing I'd like to report is fireworks are in full swing. Fireworks sales started June 20th. Just asking the public to be mindful of residents and also to be safe with the fireworks. And that's and have a safe, happy 4th.
Very good. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
James?
Yes, Mayor, Commissioners, the only thing I have to report is we did receive this letter. We have a copy of it today that after 65 years, KLEA is going to stop transmitting on the 30th of this month.
Well, okay. It's a long time.
Yes, sir.
All right. Patrick, where's the wisdom from you?
Nothing yet.
It's coming though, right? All right, thank you very much. Appreciate it, guys. All right. Coming up next, we'll go into public comment. Anybody that wishes to address the commission may do so at this time. If you'll just step up, identify yourself, and then if you would, just keep it to about 3 minutes. All right.
My name is Todd Hunter, and first I'd like to verify, is the 33% water bill increase on the agenda for this evening?
Yes, sir.
Okay, is the 2% annual thereafter also on the agenda for this evening?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And in that case, I would like to voice my opposition to it. And on just a few basic things, it may have been I'm a stickler for numbers, it may have been a honest omission, but obviously the tax was removed to figure the 33% and 15% on the tax, but then it was never added back on the paperwork that was sent to the public, which obviously it's a percentage. So the actual increase is not going to be $12.54 per person, it's going to be $13.17. It's not much, but it bothered me that it wasn't full mathematical disclosure. And I just want to point out that will be the equivalent of about $158. That'll be the equivalent of 3 extra water bills a year for the average home. And it'll affect people with one or two incomes a lot more than some of the others. And the disability exclusion, or not exclusion, but reduction, along with the age reduction, is a good thought. But to be blunt, around here, a lot of times disability just means late. I mean, there's people that generally need it. Probably 50% of the people on disability genuinely need it. But around here, I mean, they're just, I just won't be blunt about it. It can mean just not working. And so it is not a fair-handed way to create some reduction. It's giving some maybe that don't deserve it, and then leaving others, like a few ladies on my mother's street that are widowed, but they're not 55, 60 yet, so they're going to be stuck by themselves with the full amount of increase. And to then ask for a 2% annual after that, after a significant increase, then to ask for a 2% annual from further on, forgive me, ladies, but that takes a little balls. That to ask for 2 kinds of increases at the same time. So I don't think it would be in the benefit of the public. And we made it through, so supposedly there was no increase for a decade. Well, 10 years ago, fuel was $4 a gallon. It's not anymore, and we made it fine then. So I'm not exactly seeing the need for such a great increase. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. I would just ask that you keep your comments professional, if you would, please. This is a public setting. All right, anybody else, please?
Hello, my name is Shirley Choate, and I live at 806 West Avenue K. So you know that what I'm doing it has to do with changing the parking of the high school students. We at least have a buffer zone now, the street of Avenue K between our homes and where the kids park. Should you put a 2-hour limit there, which I understand was proposed, and I do too, where the kids are going to park. They're going to come across the street. I don't know why they don't park in the parking lot, because it is half empty. If they're wanting more space, which I understood for visitor parking, I think they could simply paint some more of the white along there and say visitors only. They have the parking lot in front of the auditorium, which is dirt, but they could still mark it off in some way. If you've never lived by a school, you don't understand unless you just think about it for a moment. Elementary schools and junior highs, they come and go, they pick their kids up and take them. At high school, the kids drive, they're there all day long. We had this a few years ago where the kids were parking in front of our homes. They parked on the sidewalk, they parked in front of the trash pickup, they parked in front of the mailboxes, and blocked some driveways. Kids are kids. I have nothing against it. I have a whole bunch of them. It's fine. I know that kids will take what they give. I'm just asking that the school come up with another solution, that the city send it back to them and say, find a place to put the kids. Require them to go into the parking lot. Don't make that residential area pay for whatever's going on. They have lots of room over there. So I just ask you to look out for our welfare, please, before you pass something like this, and see if they can't come up with another solution.
Thank you, ma'am. Appreciate it. All right, anybody else? Yes, ma'am.
I'm Joyce Holder. I think this is for Jane. Could you do something about in front of where you drop your papers and your boxes? If it rains, it's just a big mud hole. They're all commercial. And it's awful. You don't want to drive your cars through it. And so it makes it really inconvenient. And I hope you look after it.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. All right, anybody else? Yes, ma'am.
English or Spanish?
Either one. Just identify yourself, please, and then.
Yeah, I can speak Spanish.
Okay.
Well,
Well, try to speak a little English, and then maybe somebody can translate for you. How's that?
yes. In Spanish or?
Try English first.
Oh, yeah. I need to obtain the easement for my property, so.
Okay.
Have you gone to?
What is happening? I'm Sally Olivas from Jefferson Real Estate. I'm her realtor.
Okay.
And she is, there's an alley, there's an easement that she's wanting the city to approve, or there's an encroachment on her property on 512 West Avenue High. And she's asking for that to be granted.
It's on the resolution for action today, is that correct?
Yes.
Yeah, okay. All right,
Okay.
thank you. All right, next one. Yes, sir.
Yes, I'm Jerry Lambert. I don't currently have a water bill in my name because it's in the name of my partner's deceased husband, and she has not changed the name. But I'm addressing the water bill. I'm troubled by the amount of increase of that water bill. My Social Security was increased by a very small amount for cost of living increase. I find it very interesting that my check didn't change because the cost of the mandatory Medicare insurance went up to the exact dollar amount as my overall cost of living increase. I think that's an example of a government agency that isn't really functioning the way it ought to. That also puts me in a bind here with this increase. I had originally computed it at approximately 25% increase. The other gentleman said a little differently. But if it's 25% increase and you take 10% off, that leaves a 12.5% increase as a raw number for my account, basically. Another area that is bothering me. I happen to be living in a home that is in an area that is zoned commercial. And so I am billed water, even though it is only a single family, we do not have any commercial activity going there. I've been told by the water department in previous times that if it's zoned commercial, you will pay commercial, and there's no exception to that. So I'm in the commercial bracket. I do understand that to a point. A thing that came to my attention just recently is because we pay the minimum amount frequently, and then occasionally we get a much larger bill. And this last time that happened, I questioned, why is it a larger bill? There are 3 of us living in the house. We do laundry, we take showers, we wash dishes, but what was the change? and I began to look back, and each time there was a large increase was following a time when the month that we had 0 usage. Now that would indicate to me that the meter wasn't read. As I began to play with these numbers, I started asking, is there a certain number of gallons that comes with the basic fee? And I'm told there is, and in the paperwork of the new proposal, I see that residents have 3,000 gallons and commercial has 500, or 5,000 gallons. Well, the meter reading on the bill does not allow for that on the months that they didn't read the meter. It comes up 0 reading. So then when we read the meter the next month or 2 months down the line, the usage then piles onto that month, and I lose the 5,000 gallons that was ascribed to me had they read the meter consistently. And the increments seem to be the same with water and sewage. So in the current billing, my surcharge for them not reading the meter, because now I have to pay for that 5,000 gallons I didn't get credit for last month, is $7.25, and the sewage is $3.90 for a total of $11.15. The same scenario put into the new proposal is $9.65 for water, $5.20 for sewage, with a total of $14.85. I will be surcharged because the meter wasn't read. I don't think any resident should be penalized because the meter didn't get read. And I respectfully would like to call for an audit of those accounts to see how much this has been affected and how that weighs out. Because I think that is a very unfair accounting of our water usage.
Thank you, Mr. Lambert. All right, next person.
My name is Carolyn Selby, and I have a question about the waste management part of the increase. I know this is for the city, not waste management, but our 20-year contract with waste management should be coming up soon for renegotiation. What are the likelihoods of that increase going up when waste management is renegotiated for the city contract?
Go ahead, Jay.
Mayor, Commissioners, Ms. Selby, whenever the contract is getting closer to being run out, I guess you would say, we will have to go to an RFP process. So I really cannot answer that question for you.
But more than likely, it's going to go up because everything else increases. They're not going to keep it in the same. We're already higher than the cities around us for one pickup a week, where they get 2. And I expect that our distance from the landfill that it will increase as well. So that needs to be taken into consideration as well.
All right. Thank you, Ms. Selby. Yes.
Mayor, City Commissioners, I had a question to start off with. If the 2% increase had been done over the last, 10 years, would we be paying more or less than the increase proposed this time?
It wouldn't be an increase. Pretty much be still on.
No, but compared to what the increase that we're going to be facing now, is it going to be the exact same as it would have been if we had increased it every year for 2% like we were supposed to?
Mayor, Commissioners, Ms. Salcido, actually the way the ordinance reads is it's supposed to be based off the CPI. Had the increases met that CPI rate, it would have increased, I believe it was 58%. So it would have been substantially more. I believe the minimum water bill, if that rate adjustment based on the CPI have been conducted every year since 2007, the minimum water bill now would be $88, between $88 and $89. So this would be substantially less than going off the CPI.
I just want to say that I'm actually for that rate increase because A, of that, and two, because if you start reading, you know, even today's newspaper, we're talking about all the water issues that we're having, we're facing deficiencies in our Ugulala aquifer, so I think it's right that we should be paying for those resources. Yes, it is a renewable resource, but you can't, time is different than it just being renewable. Time takes a lot longer for those things to go up. So I think when we're talking about getting good services and such a sacred resource, we should be paying for it. So I am in favor of that increase.
Thank you, Ms. Saucedo. Next person.
Okay, my name is Clint Lauren. I just had probably some questions and comments, but first question is, at this time, if I'm not mistaken, new water meters are being placed throughout the city, is that correct? And the reason for placing these new meters is because the old meters were reading sometimes up to 75% less than the water used, actual use, is that correct? Okay, so just by adding new meters, if I'm thinking then, right? Some people's bills will go up 75% with the accurate meters. If they were 20, up to 75, 25, 50, whatever. I mean, I don't know, what is the exact figure there, James? Do you have that?
It would be 25%.
Oh, 25. So they'll go up 25% already with just the new meters. So then 25% plus an additional 32% or 30%, 25%. That's kind of a difference between just the proposed, not to mention we're adding new meters and your bills are probably going to go up anyway, increase. I'm against that. I mean, I live outside of town now and have a water well, and I use Tomahawk trash services, which are very good. But I just think that's a lot for people that are on fixed incomes, people who, as Mr. Lambert said, get the same bill, then all of a sudden, like every third month, it's abnormally high or just out of character for what the bill would be. And I think that's it as far as that. But I also, you know, have Facebook that I play on a lot, and I put a little poll on there on what people would think. Should the rates be increased with the addition of the more accurate meters, or should maybe the new meters be installed and see how the bills work out, see how the increased revenue works out, or maybe just getting the price that the water is worth since it's a renewable resource or unrenewable, whatever. But and I have the numbers just of the few people that did participate, and of the numbers, there were 183 that voted to hold off on the increase with the new meter combination. There were 7 that says raise the rates at a lower percentage, and then there were 2 people that said let's go with the proposed increase. So anyway, those people are there if somebody would like to see who exactly might be voting for them or not voting for them next time if the rates are increased. But anyway, thank you.
Thank you, Clint. All right, next person.
Hello.
Hello.
My name is Sylvia King, and I oppose the raise. Like many people back in 2015, I also got laid off from the oil field, and I am now employed. But with that, my annual income decreased by $15,000 a year. And that's not just me, that's a lot of people that were affected by the oil field. So I oppose the water increase. And I, sorry, I get nervous.
That's okay, just relax.
Maybe not allowing the non-emergency personnel that works for the city, not allow them to take their vehicles home could probably help save some money. And I know Hobbs, to save money, they close their pool on Mondays, and maybe that is something that the city could look into to save the city money.
Okay, thank you, Sylvia. Appreciate it. We know it's hard to get up and talk to people, but next person.
Okay, thank you. My name is Paula Van Cleve, and I've already spoken to all of you. You know how I feel about this, but I have a suggestion.
Yes, ma'am.
When we did this 10 years ago, I came before the commission and I asked that they divide it up. I don't even remember what the percentage of increase was going to be, but they did. It did it in 2 different times. You know, they hit now in 6 months. May I suggest that you do the same thing? You need the money, I understand that, but have a rate increase, 6 months, have another one, 6 months after that, have the third one, get your 33% whatever, and then in 2018, do your 2%. Okay, it's just something to think about. It's what we did before, and I'd ask you to consider that again. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Mackley. Appreciate you. All right, anybody else? Somebody else has to step up. Here we go. All right.
Hi, I live in Zone A.
What's your name, ma'am?
Presley Roberts.
Very good.
And I have a carport that is bolted into cement and is nice, carport, safe, and I'm all for keeping it.
All right. Thank you, Presley. All right, next person. I can't believe that's it.
Dave Rouser, and I live at 1401 West Avenue H. I ran into a predicament the other day. My sprinklers got locked on. There was debris in it, and the solenoid wouldn't close. So I went to go turn the meter off like I always do, and I can't do it. And so I was just going to ask, what is the solution for that? Because I started thinking, you know, if I was had an accident in my house, like the water broke to the toilet or something, and I wanted to turn it off, waiting 20, 30, 40 minutes for someone to get out there increases the damage. And so are there some alternatives that we could explore? Yes, Wyatt.
I'll defer to Mr. Wyatt.
I can actually come out and shut your water off, and you can put a valve on your site, so it will be on your personal property.
You mean like on my side of the wall?
On your side of the water meter, on your side of the, you can dig it up and place your own valve, so you
But I had a valve before. You just occupied it.
That is our personal valve owned by the city.
I think you should share. Okay, that's all I needed to know.
That's the option that.
That's the option to do, so that I have control over my water line, is to install my own valve on my side.
On the personal side of on your line.
Okay, all right, thank you. That answers that question. When will you be out to come and put that in for me? No, I'm just teasing. The other comment I have to make is about all the water meters and everything. And I'm generally for it for the simple reason that I like the idea of having water in the future, and everything has gone up over the last 10 years, and you can't replace water pipe today for what you could 10 years ago. And we've kicked the can down the road far enough that we're in a situation where it's now critical. While I don't like the idea of paying more, I do like the idea of being able to flush a toilet. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Rousman. Yes, ma'am.
Yes, my name is Sherry Hayes, and I have one of those carports too, the portable ones that are bolted to the ground. But mine looks pretty good, and I feel like if people take care of them, they keep the weeds down, away from them and all that, then I don't see what the problem is. I have seen some that look pretty shabby, but that's because they didn't take care of the surroundings around it. And also, we have paid taxes, I mean, like improvement on your land or whatever. And so I don't see why they would make us take it down if we, you know, if we paid tax on it all these years.
I understand. Thank you, ma'am.
You're welcome.
Appreciate it. Yes, sir.
Mayor, Commissioner, Ron Price. Every one of you know me. You're gonna have to look at who, you're gonna have to look at who you got behind me here. Half of them here about carport, half of them here about your water rates. Y'all wanna get back in? Think about it. Thank you.
Thank you, Ron. Appreciate that. All right, anybody else? Yes, ma'am.
My name is Maria Garcia, and I've been having problems, you know, well, I'm gonna go a little back, you know. Way back around, I don't know if it was 2006, I was having a lot of problems. I was left alone with my kids, you know, and there was 2 or 3 times I paid the water, you know, and the people here, I came and talked to them. I had already paid it, and I forgot it, and I paid it again because I had all these problems, you know, going on in my life. And they told me they were gonna, you know, the next month I didn't have to pay, but they kept sending me the bill, you know. And I paid about 3 or 4 times the water. I even went to see a lawyer here, but they couldn't do anything because it was the city, you know. And I was having a very hard time, you know. But anyway, you know, then I never got my money back, you know, my reinstitution for that, you know. So now that my kids are already gone and married, I'm by myself, you know, and I'm on a set income too, I have to pay around, what, 50 something of water, and I'm by myself, you know, and then I buy my water to drink, you know. So I don't know why. I mean, I didn't even want to water my yard no more because they were raising the water, and I used to pay only around 30 something, but they raised it up unexpectedly to 50 something, and like if I don't pay the penalty, they'll raise it up to, you know, 60 something, and now they're going to raise it again, you know. And I don't know if I'll be able to afford that. And also, you know, like if the house needs a repair, you know, I have one of my bathrooms is off because I couldn't fix it, and my sink is, one of the sinks in my house is off too because I couldn't fix it. I've been trying to get to that, but it's hard for me, you see, because I have to go out there and close the water. And if I call the people to go and close it for me, they're gonna charge me 30 something. That's what they did the last time, one time that I called them, you know, to go and turn off the water. They charge me around 30 something, you know. And I can't afford all that money, like I told you. I'm on a set income, you know, and I live by myself, you know. Nobody's there with me, you know, so I don't know why they were charging me so much water. And then on top of that, I think it was 2 years ago, the people from the truck that picks up the trash, one of the guys told me they were charging me for 2 trash cans, and I only had 1. And I came over here and I told them, you know, that they were telling me that they were charging me for two trash cans, and I only had 1. And they said that they were not charging me for 2 trash cans. Maybe that's why I thought it went up to, you know, 50 something. But I mean, like I told you, I'm on a set income, and sometimes it's very hard for me, you know. Sometimes I have my grandson there, but not all the time, you know. So I'm against that raise or giving, you know, because I cannot afford it. And since we're seniors, they should at least give us a discount, you know. At least over there in Hobbs, they do that, you know. They gave my mother, they gave her a discount on the water bill. And I can't afford it, sir. And I'm against that. Whatever they can do to help me, you know, I sure appreciate it.
Okay. Yes, ma'am. Thank you. Appreciate it. All right. Yes, sir.
Just wanted to take a quick moment. I'm Jared Hall, and I'm the new district manager for waste management. So I just wanted to take a moment and introduce myself, not only to everyone here, but also the community. Just let everyone know there's a face behind the name.
We're glad you're here.
Thank you. That's all. Thank you.
All right, very good. All right. Yes, sir. Anybody else?
Yeah. How you guys doing, Mayor?
Yes.
Commissioners? My name is Wilson Hayes. I've been here for 8 years as a resident. I want to talk to you about the permitting of these valves. Are we supposed to get a permit for those?
Permit for?
Putting in our own valves when you come out?
As long as the one thing that the city requires, a plumber, a licensed plumber ties into the water meter. You can dig it up 2 foot, 3 foot on your property.
You got to do
your personal line, so.
Do one call? and all that?
A one call, well, I would suggest
Yeah.
calling 811 and
Yeah.
doing a one call just so the gas line or anything else that's in the vicinity on your personal property.
Right.
That's one thing that the water department will come out and mark the alley and the line coming up to your meter, but we cannot, as far as an entity and municipality, we cannot go on personal property to mark the lines as far as your personal line going up to your house.
Okay. And another thing, the water, when was the last time we had our water quality checked in Lovington? I know that you're trying to bring up the price of it, but, you know, where I come from, quality comes with price, you know, so I'm just wondering, when's the last time
We actually, the state comes in every 3 years and does a sanitary survey. We do 15 samples a month or checks for the water quality. It's a back T sample that the state requires. Every three months we have a company come in and check all our water wells for everything. It's the pH, the calcium, everything, and I can definitely get you that information. We're currently putting out a CCR, the Consumer Confidence Report. It'll be out in the paper hopefully Saturday, and it'll be available online as soon as I get it over to James. So, and that has all the water quality levels, everything on it.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, appreciate it. All right, anybody else? All right. Before we go on, I do want to say that we are certainly sympathetic to your concerns. And in speaking and hearing you, we have talked to people, residents in town, and they convey the same concerns. So once again, we're listening to you. Thank you for being here. All right, we'll go into non-action items. Discussion of Planning and Zoning Commission positions. James?
Yes, Mayor and Commissioners, pardon me. First of all, we did have Callie Richards. She did resign from the Planning and Zoning Commission effective today, just for personal reasons. However, one of the items that did come up during our last Planning and Zoning meeting was attendance by its members. And there are some provisions in there when we have members who are inactive. I did have Joanna pull some stats over the past year as far as attendance at the different meetings. And what our ordinance actually says is that by a majority vote, the City Commission can remove those officials from any board or commission that's listed, and Planning and Zoning is one of them. Or if an individual misses 2 meetings in which they don't communicate with the chair, basically getting an excused absence, that they would automatically be terminated. So you can see we have a couple of members. I know Mr. Gomez, we were having some communication issues with him, which I did personally speak with him after this last meeting that he had missed, to just remind him that just count on being here the second Tuesday of every month. That's our regular P&Z meetings. We have Mr. Abel Cabello. He's only made 1 meeting in the past year, but everybody else has been very consistent. And often whenever they do have to miss a meeting, they do call and let us know that they won't be in attendance. So we do need to go ahead and advertise for an opening on the Planning and Zoning Commission due to Callie's resignation, but how would you like us to proceed with any other potential vacancies?
I would suggest you contact those people, especially the ones who have missed several of the meetings, just ascertain if they're still or even interested in attending or being a part of that group. And if not, then we'll seek to fill those positions as well. I don't know what you guys think, commissioners?
Would that become an action item, James, if there were to remove someone from the team there? Wouldn't that be an action item, since we did appoint them as a board under an action item?
In the 2.64.060, is if they haven't communicated with the chair as far as an absence after 2 consecutive meetings, it's an automatic.
Automatic.
Yes, sir. So it would not necessarily take, if I'm reading that correctly, commission action. It would take commission action to reappoint someone.
And if that is in place, then we should follow it.
Okay.
If it's in place, then we should follow it. So if that's in place and Mr. Cabello has had several misses, then we should follow it and do replace the ones that are not following policies and procedures in regards to planning and zoning.
Yes, sir.
Any other discussion? No. All right. very good. Anything else on that, James?
No, sir.
All right, very good. Let's go on into action items now. I'll entertain a motion.
Make a motion, we consider approval of ordinance 552, Sunrise Edition Phase 2 Housing Incentive.
We have a second. James.
Yes, Mayor and Commissioners, this ordinance has been advertised. It's part of our Economic Development Fund project to provide housing incentives up to $6,000 per completed home for the Sunrise Edition, which will finish out the area on between the 6 and 500 block of West Birch. And with this ordinance being approved, of course, we would enter into the project participation agreement with M&L Development, and 50% of the incentive that we provide is reimbursed by the county. So this will be a total of $72,000 from our restricted fund for economic development, of which 50% we will receive back from Lee County.
It's LEADA funds, right?
Yes, sir.
All right, very good. Any questions or comments by the commission? All right, without any further comment, we'll go to a vote. All in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? All right, motion carries. I'll entertain the next motion.
Make a motion, we consider approval of ordinance 553, amendments of Lovington Municipal Code Title 13, Chapter 13.04, Water Service Systems, Chapter 13.08, Sewer Service Systems, Chapter 13.12, Rates, Billing, and Collection. And I would go with option 3 on mine.
Okay, do we have a second?
I'll second that.
Do we have a second? All right. James, would you care to explain option 5?
Well, excuse me. Mayor and Commissioners, so to go over the entire ordinance, because there are several changes through this other than the rates. But this does specify who's responsible for water and sewer line extensions, that all connections have to comply with the current edition of the state plumbing code. Disposition of funds are clarified. This is any of the water and sewer revenues that are collected by the city can only be spent for water and sewer improvements. It doesn't go towards anything else but funding those departments. So revenues don't go towards any salary benefits for police, fire, cemetery, parks. None of the capital improvement. We do have some shared costs for instance, finance department. Since they do manage that, there's a small portion of funds that goes to pay for the salary and benefits for individuals in the salary department and the executive department. Because there is, I want to say we do, what, is it 30%? 30% of the overall cost of that goes towards into the water, sewer, and solid waste funds. Also, garbage revenues; those are for restricted funds, but that helps pay for the collection that we actually pay to Waste Management every month. But the remaining of that, for instance, right now I believe it's a residential polycart. For that, it's $16.04 that goes to Waste Management for those pickups. And the remaining balance of that goes towards funding our convenience center, which we, even though it's free, it's not really free because we have to pay to have those roll-offs hauled down to the landfill in Eunice. We also have to pay to have the street sweeping debris. We just can't dump that anywhere. We have to actually take that out to the landfill. So that's quite an expense as well. It also defines the use, of course, specifies that residential rates are for single-family residences. Commercial, any consumer other than a single-family residence except in the industrial 1 and 2. Mr. Lambert, I know had said, I'm going to research that. We have single-family residences that are located in commercial zones. We should not be billing people based on what their zoning is. It's based on their use. Of course, we have our industrial and industrial 2 rates that were previously defined. So with deposits, we did break this down as far as residential owner-occupied. Total, you would have $55. Residential with no waiver, as far as a residential rental with no waiver, it would be $115. However, if the landlord comes in and signs a waiver for that property to be rented out, it does increase, because what that means is that if your tenant leaves with an outstanding balance, that landlord is not responsible for that bill, and that's in state code. So we do charge a higher deposit rate to offset those losses. And then we have a commercial owner occupied and a commercial rental as well. As far as rate reductions, we did put in there a 10% reduction to their monthly utility bill. If you're 65 years of age, you just need to come in and provide proof of age. Government issued ID or a birth certificate would work. If you're receiving Social Security disability benefits, you are eligible for a 10% reduction. However, you would have to have proof that you are receiving those benefits, and you have to provide that proof every 6 months because sometimes it's a temporary disability. You would not be eligible for both rate reductions. It's one or the other, and it's restricted to one per household, and it's only on residential accounts. Rental property cleanup. If we have people who rent out a single-family residence, if they want to prepare the property for the next tenant, it's good for 5 calendar days. They would put up a $10 deposit, and there would be metered use. It would be a charge of 89 cents for every 100 gallons used. And this would not transfer from property to property. So if you go over what the $10 would cover, then you would pay that. If not, we would refund the balance. Meter replacement and testing. If somebody disputes that their meter is incorrect, we will go out and replace that meter one time. However, if they feel that it's inaccurate, we will send it off to be tested. If it's more than 5% high, we will adjust the customer's account. However, if it's less than 5%, there would be a $50 fee attached to that plus the cost of the meter testing. As far as turning water on and off, I encourage everybody to have a shut-off valve on your side because, especially after hours, there will be a little bit of a delay getting over there. But in the past, it was you get charged $50 to turn the water on or off, period. What we've done is we've amended the language that basically, if water is going to be turned off before 8 a.m. or after 5 p.m., unless it's an emergency, we will charge $50. So if somebody decides to change their faucet out at 2 o'clock in the morning, that's not really constituted an emergency unless the water heater just exploded and they've got an active leak, and then we would waive that $50 fee. We also put into the ordinance how we adjust bills based on water leaks. If an individual detects that water leak, they bring us in that there's proof that the leak has been repaired. We will average the last 6 months of water and sewer and adjust that bill. But you have to provide proof that the leak was actually fixed. Sorry. As far as delinquent rents, if payment's not received by the 26th, they're subject to a disconnection. There will be a $50 penalty added to the bill. We have to receive the payment during normal business hours. Of course, if it's off after the 26th, or on a holiday or weekend, the next business day is when payment would be due. We do allow payment extensions. There's 2 per calendar year. They have to make that extension request no later than the 25th day of each month. They're granted an additional 30 days to pay that. However, there is a 5% late fee added to that thing and a $50 penalty. So water rate adjustments. I'm going to this was the original, I guess you would say the worst case scenario, the 32% for water, 32.92% for water, the sewer, and then a 15% for garbage. But what we did was at previous meetings we had looked at several different options, and the one that Commissioner Trujillo had moved was option 3, which means that we would see basically 50% immediately, and then a 50%, which would be starting next year.
In a year.
It would be spaced out over a year. So what we would be looking at would be the utilities. For the utility charge, it would be a 16.46% increase as of July 1st of 2017, followed by a 16.46% increase the following year. 7.5% for your garbage and 7.5% July of 2018. If you will. Okay, I've got option 3. Okay, so option 2 and 3 were identical, except for option 2 would do it 6 months and then 6 months, but there's a 12-month gap. So if you look, these are actually real accounts. So if you look at the first one, we would be looking at a difference for the first year of $7.93 if you had the discounted for disability or senior citizen, be a 59-cent discount. Now this will increase the next year. Other account, this would be like on a commercial account if you had an RV or mobile home park. This would be the effect of option 3. We would be looking at total for this for all of this, $19, $107, $42 per month, and that's done over a 4-month average. And I have a bunch in here, and that is all I have.
All right, very good. All right, any discussion among commission? Any questions, comments? All right, seeing as there is none, we'll take it to a vote. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed?
Aye.
We have one opposed. Roll call, please. Anna?
Commissioner Gandy?
No.
Commissioner Keel?
Yes.
Commissioner Sanchez? Commissioner Butcher?
Yes.
Mayor Campos?
Yes, motion passes. Thank you. I'll entertain the next motion.
Make a motion, we consider resolution 2017-58, approval of Chamber of Commerce professional service agreement.
Second.
We have a second. James?
Mayor, Commissioners, if you recall, we did enter into professional service agreements last, I believe it was in December, that started January 1st, in order to get them to coincide with the fiscal year. Actually, this resolution and the next two, these are agreements that will go the entire 12 months of this next fiscal year. The only changes that were made in this document were the Chamber of Commerce document in particular is the dates, of course. We also reallocated where the funding stream was coming from. In the Chamber's agreement, they're getting a total of $47,000 annually as long as they meet their deliverables. However, 50% of that, which is $23,500, will come from the lodger's tax fund, and the remaining $23,500 will come from the general fund.
All right, thank you, James.
Yes, sir.
Any questions, comments by the commission? All right. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. I'll entertain the next motion, please.
I'd like to consider a motion for Resolution 2017-59, approval of Lovington Economic Development Corporation Professional Services Agreement.
I'll second that.
We have a second by Commissioner Butcher. James?
Mayor and Commissioners, the same changes have been made in regards to the dates for this. This is a one-year agreement. This funding comes from LEDA funds for a total of $50,000, and 100% of that comes from the LEDA fund.
All right, very good. Any other discussion? All in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? All right, motion carries. I'll entertain the next motion, please.
I'd like to make a motion to consider resolution 2017-60, approval of Lovington Main Street professional service agreement.
Second.
We have a second by Commissioner Gandy. James?
Mayor and Commissioners, the dates on this particular agreement have been changed. The funding did change from last year. $35,000 of their total $50,000 will come from the general fund, with $15,000 to be funded through the lodger's tax.
All right. Questions? Everybody good? All right. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? All right, motion carries. I'll entertain the next motion, please.
I'd like to make a motion to consider resolution 2017-61, adoption of city dress code policy.
We have a second by Commissioner Sanchez. James?
Just the changes were made, sir, as you requested. Other than that,
Could you go over those changes, please?
yes, sir.
Thank you.
Let me bring that in. We had under non-uniform personnel, number 8 for the leggings, it was 6 inches below the bottom of the buttocks. And then you had mentioned also to include on section E3 on the political campaigning during work hours. Was that
Was prohibited, correct?
correct?
Okay, very good.
That's the word which was that.
All right. Any other changes, Ms. Wallace?
No, I think that's it.
Okay. Anything to add to that, James?
No, Mayor.
All right, very good. Any questions? by the
No,
commission?
I was going to ask Patrick. Patrick, did you see any type of discrimination in this outline proposal? Any type of discrimination or anything that you'd see that would affect us in any way due to the staffing and so forth and different? The thing I don't like about it, it's not across the board. It's doing each department. And if one department I feel is not adopting to it, but another one is, or let's say for instance, you got staffing from different departments saying, well, White's department, he's pretty relaxed. Chief Rosardo, his is pretty strict. What's to say that we're not going to be fair across the board with this? That's why I don't like the each department. I prefer it to be across the board.
Well, I think that each department portion would take into consideration maybe what that department works on. So for example, if there's a staff person in the water department that also has to cover field operations, I would expect that person to be able to come to work and dress in a type of uniform or attire that would allow them to be out in the field, you know, whether it was steel toe boots or a hard hat or those types of things. And so I don't know if there's necessarily anything that would show discrimination, you know.
Or rights violating of anybody's.
No, I think it's more of an issue of, you know, the staff that works in City Hall, I think they would be expected to dress differently than necessarily the police department or the fire department, just based on their requirements of in an office setting. They don't have to go out into the field. They're dealing with the public on a regular basis versus somebody that's, you know, pushing a lawnmower in the parks department or working at the pool. And so I don't think there's a discrimination. I think what it is recognizing those different types of settings and being able to be accountable for that. And I think if we had a situation where, you know, someone had to pay certainly more for their uniform than somebody else, you know, we could certainly take a look at that. But I think the way it's set now is that it accounts for the working conditions as opposed to maybe who the department head might be. But certainly there's going to be different requirements for different departments. And so.
But you do feel comfortable with this, is what you're
saying?
saying?
I think it covers it as best as possible. We may find that once we get going, there's some bugs that we have to work out. But I think overall, I think, you know, having a department head that looks at some of those issues, you know, if it's a situation where someone comes in and says, well, I work in such and such department, flip-flops, shorts, and tank tops are okay, then I think the way to address that is with that department head about what should be required as opposed to, you know, a different way around as far as the dress code. You know, there's always potential problems. I wouldn't say there's discrimination, but, you know, it's going to be with that department head and what the requirements are for the fire department versus Parks and Rec versus, you know, somebody in the accounting department.
That's a good point, Commissioner, and I think it's also addressed in Section 2 of the job appropriate attire, where it talks about office personnel and non-office personnel, and the fact that the duties require specialized attire, and irregardless, all dress codes have to be approved by the city manager. So I think we're covered well there. Good point. All right. Thank you, Patrick.
Sure.
Thank you.
Sure. All right. Any other discussion? All right, all in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? All right, motion carries. I'll entertain the next motion, please.
I make a motion to consider Resolution 217-62, city holiday and meeting schedule for fiscal year 217 and 218.
Second.
We have a second. James?
This is just the same as every year. We have our commission meetings, our holidays, and board meetings.
So no change?
Just dates.
Okay, all right. All right, very good. Thank you, Anna. Any discussion? All right. Without any further discussion, we'll take it to a vote. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, motion carries. I'll entertain the next motion, please.
I'd like to make a motion to consider resolution 2017-63, approval of street closure permit for July 8th, 2017, Summerside and West Avenue K between 6th and 9th Street.
Second.
We have a second by Commissioner Gandy. James?
Did you skip me?
Yeah, I think you, you're gonna have to reread it. I think he jumped it.
Oh, did he jump? I'm sorry.
Yeah, he jumped the line.
Would you read it again? I'm sorry.
Yeah, I did. I got all carried away. Consider,
Oh,
I'd like to make a
I got you.
motion to consider resolution 2763, approval of street closure permit for July 8th, 2017 summer concert series.
Second. I still like that on Avenue K.
Yeah, we're going to like it. Just now
No, we moved
realized
it up.
that. It
Moved
didn't
it up a little bit.
All right, we have a second. James?
Mayor and Commissioners, Main Street, of course, is going to host their summer concert series, and they're requesting temporary street closures on the areas highlighted in blue. The reason this is coming before the commission is that these are both classified as minor arterials, and our policy requires your approval.
Okay. No issues with that? James, is that correct?
No, sir.
All right. Any questions or comments? All right, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Next motion, please.
Consider resolution 2017-64. Consider approval of parking time limits on the south side of West Avenue K between 6th and 9th Streets.
Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a second by Commissioner Sanchez. James?
Yes, Mayor and Commissioners, Chief Rodriguez and I were approached by the Lovington schools about how they're going to be changing things as far as parking around the high school. We've had numerous complaints from individuals parking in front of the high school, and it's caused some sight line problems, especially with pedestrians. And as far as their crossing, not using the crosswalks. So if you bear with me, what they have done is, of course, the area marked in A is designated for student parking. One of the reasons why there's been individuals who have been using Avenue K to park on is they've lacked the ability to get a permit. The schools are going to be actually relaxing some of those requirements, and they're requiring that if you drive to school, you need to park in that parking lot. They're going to make it easier for them to get a parking permit. When you move over here to parking lot B, this will actually be for faculty and parking and freshman academy visitor parking. Parking lot C will be used for staff or faculty parking, also for special events. When you have D, that is for grads parking. E is for special events and bus parking whenever they bring people over to Pinnell Auditorium. And then, of course, F down here should actually, that's actually for band practice. The area that they're requesting that we put a 2-hour time limit on school days only, is basically the southern side of Avenue K from 9th Street to 6th Street. The signs basically would be, we would have a sign at one end, another sign that would just state that between the hours of, I believe it's 7:30 and 4, there would be 2-hour parking. That would include everybody, from students to staff. We could actually delineate, visitor parking as well. When reviewing this with the schools, they felt that 2 hours would be enough for individuals to come there. If parents need to visit with school staff, 2 hours is more than adequate for parking there. Enforcement would be conducted by the school resource officer. And in the event there's a violation, the officer would actually cite them to municipal court. The city wouldn't be towing vehicles. We would just cite them for those parking infractions. We've only received one message, and Ms. Choate, thank you for showing up. She actually had contacted us and said that she was opposed for this. That is all I have to report, unless Chief Rodriguez has anything else to add to that. I think, there's Mr. Lewis is also here from the schools.
All right, maybe Mr. Lewis can answer this question. How are the schools going to relax? You said relax the requirements. What is that specifically talking about? Go ahead and step up here, Bill, if you don't mind. Just announce yourself, please.
This decision here would help us determine some of that, but we required, a few years ago, we required a permit. For that permit to park in that, then we required a license and insurance, and that drove them out of the parking lot. And so we immediately began to have more problems. It's always been a bit of an issue. So we're hoping to relax those requirements. Some require a permit, but basically if you're a student there and you drive, you would have a permit to be able to park in that lot. We feel like this would give us a tool to help us get them into the parking lot. We understand the congestion problem there on Avenue K. We are concerned with the safety for not just students, but any visitors that come to the high school, even the folks who do live across from the high school, their safety as far as the congestion and kids are kids, and the way they come off that street and out of those spots. So we're open to suggestions. We just want to come up with a way of helping control the traffic on that street better. And so this is what we're hoping to try to do. So,
all right, thank you, Bill. Let me ask you this, Chief. What's going to keep some of these kids from parking in front of Mrs. Choate's residence?
Nothing. If they're going to park there, they're going to park there. They're going to get cited. But
they are going to get cited?
No, if they're parked legally, there's absolutely nothing we can do. It is public parking. Right. But other than that, unless you're blocking, impeding traffic, or doing something, that's the only way they're going to get some kind of infraction for it.
So we're trying to encourage them to park in the actual high school parking lot by relaxing the requirement of insurance. Is that right, Bill?
Yeah, insurance and driver's license, believe it or not.
So as long as they attended school and they have a vehicle, they're going to be given a permit to be encouraged to park in the parking lot. Is that correct?
We have a number of parents with students who would argue with us when we're required to issue a license, and so that's part of what we're dealing with there as well. So,
Chief, your thoughts on this?
I'm for restricting it somehow or another, but I'm totally against allowing them to drive without the license or the insurance. It does cost. It does cost. So it is getting them off the streets and into the parking lot, but it is opening up more liabilities for other issues that happen.
James, yes.
Actually, Chief, if you could elaborate why we can't pull somebody over just to verify they have insurance or a driver's license.
We got to have some kind of infraction or probable cause to pull them over. Reasonable suspicion. We can't just pull anybody over just because we want to. So we have to have some kind of reason. And just because they're parked legally on the side of the road is not suspicion enough. So,
James, is there a possibility of bringing up a zoning ordinance that will can affect that to where they have to park in the school parking lot? Is that possible?
I don't think so.
You don't
think
so? Okay.
Yes, sir, Commissioner.
Could they put a sign right there where we all wanted, from K to 6, where they wanted, that says no student parking from so-and-so time?
Mayor, Commissioners, that's actually what we're not wanting to just limit it to students, but it's just no parking, period. Because then we would have to find out who this, we basically would not be able to enforce that because we wouldn't be able to determine if it's a student, if it's a visitor, or if it's faculty who are parking there.
Well, students know that they're students and they should respect that sign, I'm sure they would.
If they didn't respect the insurance or the license, so
I have a question or suggestion. If you made it a no parking zone from 9th all the way to, what is that, 5th Street? 6th?
Yes, sir.
Made it a no parking zone, then you have to have a way to protect your citizens, because it's just going to push them across the street, because there's no way legally we can restrict that, and it's hard to tell what is a person's personal vehicle from that area, and, or if it's just a student parking in that slot. Is there a way that you could give the residents in that short amount of area right there like a parking pass or a sticker that allows them to park on the street between 7th and 6th there at their residence, but you have to be a licensed driver, you know, bring in your driver's license and your residence, you know, a bill of some sort that says, okay, I live here, can you give me the sticker? The sticker. That way the officer will be able to identify it. And between the hours of 8 and 4, if any other car was parked on that side of the road that didn't have the sticker, then you could cite them for parking in. I don't know if that's even possible, but it is a solution.
You still have to zone it and have an ordinance to back that up, because that's.
Or can you change the whole south side of the road? Can you make that a bus zone?
Buses don't stop there.
Well, I mean, if they're parked in the bus zone, you tow it.
They pick up
If
students
they
on
utilize it
the
as a bus
east
drop-off,
side,
then
the bus
yes.
drop.
So it's not utilized at all as a bus drop-off.
Well, I understand. This school would have to change their policy and use it as a bus drop-off instead of jamming the buses in their parking lot with the rest of the questionable drivers.
They actually go down in Alexander behind the parking lot F. That's where they drop the kids off.
But that's already a congested area. Why not bring it up there to the...
And it becomes that much more congested
Mhm.
on Avenue K.
Mhm. Chief, let me ask you this. What type of enforcement are you looking at if this passes? Enforcement action?
It would just be the parking regulations and possibly the insurance and driver's license once we deal with those issues, depending on what comes out.
Okay. Bill, let me ask you this. If a student parks in a place that's not designated for student parking, are the schools looking at any kind of a violation there for them per se?
Well, we don't have a whole lot of teeth sometimes with the schools, like we, with the police, but, part of what drove them out of the parking lot was trying to enforce some things that to us were common sense.
Sure.
But, we're not just dealing with students, we're also dealing with parents that say it's okay for their student to come to the school without a driver's license or insurance. So we're going to try to address it and try to police it better with the tools we have. And so this might be something that if this helped a little bit, then maybe we could figure out what would help across the street, because I certainly don't, we certainly don't want to push more off there, and we know that happened before. As I said, we're open to suggestions, but we're hoping that relieving some of the requirements will bring a number of them back into the main parking lot. So.
Thank you, Bill. Going back to the chief. So what kind of a violation would you see if they're parked there for 4 hours as opposed to the 2-hour violation?
Like I said, just citations, the parking violation citations, and then obviously it goes from there. If they're not a licensed driver and the parents given permission, then the parents also get cited for it as well.
So what's the SRO going to do with that ticket right then and there? Are they going to have to look for the student, or are they going to
They
place
would have to locate the child, the person driving, and write them the citation.
So is that going to take them, or just wait for them to come out? Is that correct?
And I don't know about waiting, we're going to have to do something else about that.
Are you thinking about pulling them out of school, out of class?
Depending on how it is, depending on the violation and the seriousness, it depends on the issue. As far as it's just a citation, then we'll try to either summons them in and go from there.
Okay. Kind of a complex issue, isn't it?
Yeah.
All right. Yes, James.
If I may answer Commissioner Gandy's question, as far as restricting it also on that north side, that would be a nightmare. I mean, granted, if you live there, you issue them a parking permit, but if I decide to have, a gathering at my house during the limited hours, how do we determine that? So we also had the concern, this had come up, I believe it was 2-3 years ago. As far as even making that entire area a no parking zone, we didn't want to force that traffic deeper into residential neighborhoods, but also we didn't want to impede on the ability of residents who live there to be able to utilize that space in front of their home, even though there's nothing we can do as far as if Chief Lizardo here wanted to park his personal vehicle there, there's nothing we could really do about it.
So Chief Rodriguez, one more question. Do you see this as a beginning to find a solution to this problem?
Other than the negative that I mentioned earlier, yes.
Mention those again, please.
The no insurance and driver's license in the parking lots encourages more people to drive without the documentations they need.
I understand. Maybe the schools can make some effort there as well. All right. Any other discussion? Questions by the commission? Seeing as there is, did you have a comment, Commissioner?
I'm still thinking about it.
Okay. All right. Did you need some more time?
Well, it would hurt.
I'm sorry. Oh. Consider tabling it at this point? Anybody wish to make the motion to table?
I'll make a motion that we table it for now, and just go over it and come up with better structure of this idea. I mean, I agree, I wouldn't want to park it in front of my house. I don't even want to park there sometimes.
Okay. Do we have a second? All right, we have a second. All right. Roll call, please.
Commissioner Candy?
Aye.
Commissioner Bernard Kutcher?
Yes.
Commissioner Sanchez?
Aye.
Commissioner Trujillo?
No.
Mayor Gomez?
Yes. The motion will be tabled to be discussed at a later time. Thank you. All right, I'll entertain the next motion.
I make a motion we consider resolution 2017-65, approval of city phone system installation and maintenance agreement.
Second.
We have a second. James.
Yes. Mayor and Commissioners, we use a Mitel, it's called Voice over IP phone system that's been in place since 2010. And this phone system has been beginning to fail. We ran into an incident in our municipal court a couple of weeks ago where we called Windstream to come in and fix the phone system, and we ran into the situation where they were not going to fix it because we did not have a maintenance agreement in place. And over the past 3 years, I know I personally communicated with Windstream about, and Chief Rodriguez as well, about getting a maintenance agreement. And I know I've personally spoken to 4 people who they were supposed to send the documents over for us to look at, and they have failed to do so. So we sought out LECO and asked them to quote us on a phone system, and also, since we've been long-term customers with Windstream, for them to provide us a quote, basically the same thing. So what we have submitted with going through the Windstream quote, they were not going to charge us anything for installation or construction of the phone system. Essentially, we would be renting the equipment from them. We would have monthly lease fees of $980.49 per month. However, we would also pay that in what we're currently paying in our phone bill for just public safety, city hall, motor vehicle, and then adding our Chamber of Commerce building to this system, which basically over 5 years, this would cost us about $208,000. The downside to this is that this is rental. Should we need to terminate the agreement, we are without a phone system. Once the 5 years is up, we would either have the ability to renegotiate the maintenance agreement for a lower rate, or purchase the system at fair market value, upgrade to a new system, or return it to Windstream. Also, they would charge for service calls. It would vary anywhere from $95 to $125, depending upon who they would have to send out. And after hours calls, it would be an overtime rate. When we look at Lico's proposal, there is an upfront cost of $21,000. However, the monthly recurring charges of $1,487, that includes basically what our monthly bill is right now. So that's including all of our long distance calls, what it costs, our annual cost would be about $17,850 to actually in the system. There's no charge for service calls, only 4 hours, 7 days per week. And essentially, even though we pay up front, in 21 months, the savings that we realize from what we're paying out now, system for itself, so less than 2 years. So it's already for a 5-year total cost of $110,000. So we would recommend that we award this to Lico.
All right, any discussion about the commission? All right. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? All right, motion carries. I'll entertain the next one, please.
Consider resolution 2017-666, approval of easement of alley encroachment at 512 West Avenue.
We have a second. All right, James.
Yes, Mayor, Commissioners, at 512 West Avenue 9, we have the owner of the property, they're trying to sell the property. Whenever they did the needs and bounds survey for the improvement report through the title company, it was discovered that there's been some improvements which constitute a carport and a metal fence that are encroaching on the established city easement. It varies anywhere from 7.4 feet to 6 feet. And the title company won't issue any of the documents to finalize the sale of this until they get an encroachment easement. There's also an encroachment which doesn't pertain to us on the neighboring property of 12 and a half feet. When we went through and we're looking at the site, it appears that the carport and metal fence were actually built between 2005 and 2006. We've looked at this particular issue. As far as utilities, that's the only reason that alley would exist, and all of the utilities are actually on the north side. I know visiting with Wyatt, he advised that granting this easement would not hinder our ability to access those utilities if there was a need for repair or adding new services.
Okay. So what is your recommendation, James? Or do you have one?
On it, I would actually recommend approval for this case only, considering the location of those utilities are on the opposite side of the alley, and it's not going to hinder us. However, I would strongly encourage individuals when they make improvements on their property that they at least have their corners staked, so we can avoid these issues in the future.
Thank you for that, James.
Yes, sir.
All right, any discussion? Yes, Commissioner.
There's an extremely large tree in the back of that property that's in the alleyway. I mean, if we're going to give an easement, they should at least remove that tree. So, I mean, it's massive back there. And, I mean, to gain that much property, just, have a swap of a pen, at least they ought to remove the tree and clean the alley up. So I did drive through there.
All right, thank you, Commissioner. Any other questions or comments by the Commissioner? All right. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? All right. Motion carries. I'll entertain the next motion, please.
Make a motion to consider resolution 2017-67, approval of advanced metering infrastructure agreement.
We have a second, Commissioner Sanchez. Wyatt.
This actually comes back to Encode and Census upgraded for our radio read meters. Darren, the water supervisor, he's been working with Census for the past year to get the new AMI system upgraded to a two-way radio so we can actually communicate directly with the meter. Currently right now, it's a one-way system. We can just ping the meter and talk to it. It talks to us every hour. With this new system and the software upgrade and everything, we'll actually be able to currently read the meter right off the bat. We can ping that meter and it'll tell us exactly what's on there. having the technical support. This will actually, we will not have a server based, it'll be on the cloud system, so they will actually take full responsibility for everything. So we'll hopefully include a better software and everything with it.
Let me ask you this, Wyatt, do we have the $6,000 in utilities to pay for this?
Yes, we do. We budgeted this last year for in this current fiscal year.
All right, very good. Yes, sir.
Yeah, Mayor Commissioners, this is actually no change to our annual support fee that we pay. This is just an updated agreement to reflect those changes.
Very good, thank you. All right, any other questions or comments about the commission? All right, all in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? All right, motion carries. I'll entertain the next motion, please.
I'll make the motion that we consider accounts payable.
Second.
We have a second. Gary.
If I may, Mayor and Commission, the single largest payment obviously was the Dana Nepper, again related to the water meter project for the $104,000. On a side note that's not related directly to this current payment, as I did come prepared to give you an answer about the Visa charges of the $7,300 from the last meeting. I have that information, but it'd just be easier just to give you a handout if you'd like to see that.
Please.
Essentially, this was when we all were looking at Visa charges about a month ago and saying, gee, why do we see this large Visa charge? And there was no detail or explanation of this.
Right.
What I have here is a breakdown on that and a clear statement from my payables clerk that she did err in including this in the last statement showing what was paid because it was a carryover from a prior period. But these were essentially a multiple number of credit cards, as you can see, that were combined into that one $7,000 charge. And I did my best to give some detail of the different expenses. If you have any more questions on that, I really can't get more detail than what I have on this sheet. With that being said, if there's any other questions about the current payables, I think the list that we sent out hopefully gives you all the answers, because short of asking somebody else, I don't have better information than that.
Let me ask you about that amount specifically, Gary. Has that amount been reconciled properly?
The $7,000 amount?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay. All right. Very good. Okay. Thank you. Anybody else?
Chief, was a high boot expense due to your big feet, or?
No, they came out of our uniform maintenance for the guys.
Thank you.
All right. Anything else from the commission? Any other questions or concerns? Nobody? All right.
Did Scott get a copy of this?
Yes, I did. Thank you.
Yeah. All right. There's no other discussion. We'll take it to a vote. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? All right. Motion carries. All right. I'll entertain another motion.
Make the motion, we adjourn this meeting.
Do we have a second?